You're listening to the Chronicles of Living podcast, where we talk to everyday people about everyday things in the past, present, and future. Now let's talk.
Greetings, my social media family. Dion here, Chronicles of Living. And today, I have my first interview with the beautiful Patrice Johnson of Global Director World Network. Hey, Patrice, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How
And this is our first podcast interview. So if you're listening out there, I need you to come on the chat. Make sure you tell us if you hear us and interact with us so we can know that you hear us okay. So if you saw the title and if you got the invite to the event, then you know that this is going to be a moving, inspirational story. And our hope is that a lot of people can take something with them and get their healing from this interview. So I'm not going to talk long. I want Patrice to tell her story, tell us why she's here, and tell us all about her past, present, and future. So Patrice, without further ado, young lady, tell the people, a little bit about you. Who is Patrice Johnson?
well, basically, I am a Texas girl at heart. I'm from Texas. I grew up there, and rather interesting home with three moms and a father who's a minister. He just retired, and I believe I'm his targeted congregation at this point.
Okay.
So that's just a little bit about myself and my upbringing there. And now today, I'm a mom of four. I homeschool, travel school, and have
Wow.
been working and building from home past decade.
Wow. I take my hats off to mothers with kids, more than one child. It's work, we're underrated, It's really a job. And it seems to me that you have things in control. I mean, how is that homeschooling? Because a lot of people, some people are against it, some people are for it. I'm for it because I homeschooled my son for 3 years out of his school before he went to college. So for you,
Right.
what made you make that choice to homeschool them? And how long have you been doing it?
I brought them home. We've been home for about 2.5 years now. So
Hmm.
this will be entering in, I guess, maybe our third sort of year, so to speak, in school terms.
Okay.
Um, them home a little bit later in life because what you're saying that you are all for homeschooling and everything. I thought this is the last thing on earth that I thought I would be doing. But I really dug in and just really looked at some things into it.
Uh-huh.
I have some kids that have some learning disabilities, and I'm all for learning is a
Right.
it's not a cookie cutter or a one size fits all matter.
You're right
We
about
all
that.
learn differently.
Hmm.
So when I had my oldest kids coming to me and just distraught about some things that were going on in school, thinking that it was because of them and their disabilities. And I
Right.
had to really just kind of turn it around and let them see that it wasn't actually a disability, but an ability for them to learn in their way. So
Right. Hmm. Hmm.
I just kind of went from there
You
and have
you're
taken over.
100% right about that. I think that's what's the matter with the way the public school system is ran today, it's not a one size fit all, and a lot of the kids fall to the wayside, and some give up because of that reason. um, they cram so many kids in one class, they can't get the individual attention. So with homeschooling, what I found with my son was it actually makes them more responsible and more organized, and more prepared for college, because he was prepared, so
Right. I
so
agree.
so now I want to take the listeners back through your journey and kind of draw a picture of your start, your beginning, Patrice as that young girl, like coming from the first great memory that you have of being young before things started turning a little dark for you.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah. First journey there, like, I mentioned that my father, was a minister. I grew up. I was just talking to a girlfriend before I hopped
mhm,
on this call, and we were just talking about, I grew up in a church, literally. Like, I had a sleeping bag and pillow, like, I was there. My
wow,
father is a minister. I went to private church school.
mhm,
My grandmother was over the treasury at the church in the church school, so I was there all
mhm,
day, all the time.
wow,
uh, so I think my early memories were just, like early on. Maybe younger, even younger than my young baby right now, who's 12.
mhm,
And I would say maybe one through 6 or 7 were just, memories of that, and
right,
just kind of being engulfed in things like that, being engulfed in family
mhm,
activities and farmhouses, and you have it. Like, we did
wow.
things in that way.
So basically, someone on the outside looking in at you, at a young girl, would think like, "Oh, she's just perfect. She has the perfect little life." Your friends would probably think that too. And so, at what point did things start to change, and how did it start to change? Like, did you have any type of warning, or if you could walk us through?
It changed so early on for me
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
I really don't know if I had a warning. I know that I may have had questions,
Right.
to my parents and those around me. But we teach, stranger
Mhm.
danger type stuff. But sometimes
Mhm.
it's that person that
Right.
intimately, that it's the closest, that is a family friend, that may be a relative. So
Mhm.
I really didn't have cause for any warning. Things start
Right.
to change, and this is kind of bled into this point in my life, and why I work the way that I do and build the way that I do. My
Mhm.
mother, gosh, she's great. She worked, she's RN, my grandmother was RN,
Mhm.
and I would see them work and work constantly. They did private duty nursing. So,
Okay.
that's sort of, you go to someone else's place of residence and things like
Mhm.
of that nature.
Right.
So they did this for years,
Mhm.
and she did things on the side where she would build little businesses and stuff on the side. So she just stayed constantly busy to take care
Right.
of us.
So in other words,
So she,
because she was so busy, even though in her heart, and us as mothers, I can say the same thing. We think that we're doing uh things for the betterment of our children, and sometimes that leaves an opening for people for prey. You know, is that?
right, that's true. That's
Mhm.
true. Like, because of all of her work and stuff, I have a younger sister that, yeah, she did have to put us someplace where she could work and get those things accomplished that they were doing for to
Mhm.
better our living arrangements.
Right.
And yeah, I was placed with people that we trust. Like I said, you
Mhm.
think stranger, but it's not always the case. And majority of the time, that's not the case. It's someone that you know.
Right.
Um,
Right.
so yeah, I was put off with my sister, and we would go to a family member's home to
Mhm.
be watched, and we would stay there overnight or stay there for the weekend or a few days out of the week. So that's
Mhm.
pretty much how it started.
Right. And so at the family member's friend house, is that where it started the first
Yes.
time?
Hmm.
So, like, I don't want to, I don't want to bring up any, I don't want to make you feel any type of way, but I'm just trying to, there might be that one listener out there that's either going through this or had a child that just went through any type of abuse or molestation, and they could be listening for some type of hope or some type of healing. So if you could kind of, I mean, without getting too graphic, just kind of give us an example of the approach, maybe, how it started.
The approach, I mean, it's very friendly. Like,
Mhm.
it's someone that you know. So
Mhm.
this was someone that wasn't a blood relative, but sort of married into the family.
Okay. Mhm.
So, when you're accustomed to calling someone uncle or whatever, what have you, whatever
Mhm.
the situation may be,
Mhm.
it's not something where they come in very aggressively.
Right.
So, and then to be, at the time, I think, as far as my memory is concerned, because when
Mhm.
certain kids go through this early on in age, you tend to block things,
Right.
and we'll get into that. But at the age of 8,
Right.
like how much can you really think about? You just think like,
Mhm.
oh, this uncle's really friendly,
Right. Mm.
And I think I would say things like that and bring up stuff like, well, Uncle such and such is pretty friendly,
Right.
like,
Because as a
you know,
child, you really don't, like you said, we teach the kids stranger danger, but we don't teach them family friend danger.
correct,
So,
correct, yeah,
mm,
yeah. And unfortunately, sometimes that's where the danger lies, and
right.
we don't prep our kids or society for that. So you really don't know how to react. So to answer that
Hmm.
question, it's hard. Like I really don't know if there were warning signs, or I mean, what would an 8-year-old look for,
Exactly.
and a
Exactly.
family friend, like this is my family. So what would you look for? Why would this person that's my family
Hmm.
endanger me? So.
Right. So you say it started at the age of 8. Um,
Mhm.
the first time, how did you feel? Like, because I haven't been there, so I don't want to touch on things that I shouldn't touch on. But so, just in summary, like, what happened after? Like, was anybody around? Was
Oh
it?
yeah, yeah, and that's another misconception too.
Mhm.
Later on, that I do talk to teens today
Mhm.
about this issue, and uh, my stepfather is actually he was a detective, so I do talk about and touch on this subject a lot. But the
Mhm.
thing is, what happened next is you really don't know. And like for a child, you're trusting
Mhm.
you're trusting of your parents that brought you there, you're trusting of the family that you're around.
Mhm.
And the big misconception is what you touched on was anyone around. Yes,
Right.
absolutely. They say that
Wow.
people prey on someone that isn't around. Oh, there's nobody around. Oh, that's
Mhm.
absolutely false. Mm,
Mm.
yeah, yeah,
So
there are
there
people
were
around.
actually people in the place where it took place,
Oh, absolutely, yes.
and nobody, suspected anything or.
Yeah, no one suspected anything then early on. No.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So this happened for how many years?
From 8 until about 13.
Till about 13. So, and at that point,
Hmm.
because how frequently was it happening?
I was just anytime I was there, I can
Mhm.
remember being younger and just I would get singled out by this particular individual
Mhm.
to stay behind. Like I said, other
Right.
people were there, but I would get singled behind. Oh well, her mom dropped her off and said that she was sick, so she's going to have to stay. She
Right.
can't participate in swimming today because
Wow.
she's ill, or
Mhm.
well, she can't go and get ice cream and burgers with you guys because she's ill, and yeah, promised her mom that I would keep her here. And in my head, little kid head, you're thinking, I'm sick. Okay, well maybe my mom did say that I needed to stay
Right.
here. So you try to rationalize it.
Wow.
So yeah.
Mm. Mm-mm. Yeah, and that's the thing as a kid. I think where we make the mistake is that we'll tell kids stay in a child's place. Don't ask questions sometimes because he was an adult and he was telling another adult what you said. Is that how you felt like, okay, he's an adult, I guess this is what it is?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this is
Mhm.
what. Well, I need to stay, or like even if I wasn't feeling sick, then I, as a child, again, like let's say in a child's place. I don't know if you were upbringing as that, like, hey, adults are speaking, you don't speak, So
Mhm.
that's pretty much the
Right.
place that I went into, and for him to mention that if he talked to one of my parents about this,
Mhm.
and well, that's that.
Right.
So
Right.
why should I question it?
Mm, mm, mm. So, as a young girl, emotionally, what do you think at that time? Because you're an adult now, but what do you remember? How do you remember feeling like going to school? Like, were you withdrawn, or how did it affect you as a young girl going through that?
Oh, as a young girl, it really affected me. I did go withdrawn because you have the secret,
Right.
So you
Hmm.
have the secret. What do you
Mm.
know? What do you know?
And how did he? What did he say to you to make you keep it a secret? Because
Just
that is
how,
always a thing.
right, right.
People always say, well, I don't understand why you didn't tell. And you hear about cases years down the line and women coming forth, and a lot of people don't believe them because they feel like they should have said something in the midst of it. you
Right. And
know what
the
is
midst
it
of it,
that made you?
you're jumbled in your thoughts. Even
Mm-hmm.
as a woman today, a lot of women get jumbled in their own thoughts of
Mm-hmm.
something going on like that. What do you
Right.
say? What will someone think of me? What would So could you imagine what a child may face?
Right.
you know.
Right.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
he never said anything in particular. He
Mm-hmm.
would make gestures.
Mm-hmm.
I did also have a younger sister going there,
Mm.
and my deal was that I was protecting everyone else, like the younger kids that were going
Wow.
there.
So kind of like you was not saying this in a negative way, but you was taking it for the team, you know,
Right,
to protect
absolutely.
the team.
No,
Wow. Mm.
not like, yeah.
I mean, molestation and abuse is so widespread, and the sad part about it is, just like we're discussing today, it's usually within the family friends. And I myself can say I have a few family members and close people that it happened to. And it was somebody that they knew, somebody that they knew. And the shame, feeling shame of it, because it shouldn't be shame because it's not your fault, but that's the emotion that seems to attach to it. And I just hope that people listening to your story can break through, because did you did you go down a dark path? I mean, like, after 13, No, let me say this. What allowed everybody to find out?
Okay, yeah, yeah. Let's definitely bring light to that.
Mhm. Mhm.
What allowed everyone to find out? I still didn't tell. I didn't say a word.
Mhm.
I tried to bring it up when I was younger, and it's kind of stay in a child's place, or oh, that person, he's
Right.
just that way. He's just kind of friendly and touchy feely. I was just like,
Mhm.
oh, so that's normal.
Mhm.
But 13, finding out with me not saying a word,
Mhm.
I became very ill. So this is me. Let's go back to seventh or eighth grade.
Mhm.
So this is me maybe going into eighth grade. I became very ill, and I was sick for maybe a week. I was in bed. My grandmother, ARN, my mother, an RN, so they're taking care of me and everything. And we just couldn't put pin why I was so ill, and I just
Right.
became violently ill. And finally, my mother made a pediatrician appointment from me. So we
Mm.
go in to see my pediatrician. He does all these tests and everything, and they just couldn't come up with anything. They couldn't come up with an explanation for why I was ill the way I was ill.
Mhm.
So he had my mother step out, and apparently he discussed with her that he wanted to do a pregnancy test at
Wow.
13. And
Wow.
she's like, what? Like, yeah, sure, you could do that. I don't know why. Like, why would you want to do that?
Mhm.
So they go ahead and do that. And still, my teenage 13-year-old brain, you're not thinking and calculating, or, you're a kid. So I go in, and that comes back positive.
Wow.
So he talks to my mom, and my mom stepped out, and he came and talked to me. And I just flooded in tears. Like, finally,
Yeah.
there's
So it was
relief.
like a
Somebody
burden.
knows.
I mean,
Yeah.
while it was a sad day, it was in a crazy way, it was a joyful day for you because it was a big burden lifted off of you. Is
Right,
that
right.
safe to
Yeah.
say
So
that?
that, no, it's absolutely safe to say that. That was my
Mhm.
feeling in that moment. I mean, I know my mother felt some kind of way because they were confused. You can imagine. Right? Could you imagine your 13-year-old just, whoa, I've taken you to the
No, I could
pediatrician
not. I
and
really
you're
couldn't.
pregnant? Like, what is happening?
Right.
So I can understand her point of view, just like, whoa, where have you been? Like, when have you ever, And then I just sat there and wept, and just it was a burden, but then it was part of a burden lifted because it started a whole new era of the
Right.
abuse.
Mm.
So I was like, wow, somebody find. I'm just like, Mom, and I said the person's name, it's Uncle such and such. And she just cried with me, like, what? And then she called, some more of my family, and they just
Wow.
came to the hospital. And, then my pediatrician had to take me from my pediatrician area to a woman's place in the hospital so they can kind of see how far along this thing was,
Right.
and that's why I say that's where a second part of the abuse began, and it began with that doctor's visit. That's the second part of it.
Right. So when you say the second part of the abuse, what do you mean by that? Do you mean mental or what? Did your mother, how did your mother respond to you?
Oh, initially, like I said, how would you feel? She responded
Mhm.
like that. Like,
Mhm.
what do you mean? Like, where have you been?
Mhm.
What are you doing? And
But
then
did
when I
she
was able
think
to
that
tell that,
you were
oh
out
no,
there? Okay.
yeah, originally she did. But then when
Mhm.
I finally, and she saw me break it down and say that, which
Right.
I have originally brought up some things when I was early on in my childhood, she broke
Mhm.
down too. And you see
Mhm.
that she had to kind of cover her breakdown to protect me.
Right.
So when I say the second part of the abuse began, um, even more mental. So now
Mhm.
this is out. So imagine getting something, your deepest secret or whatever out, and you're exposed. You're
Right.
exposed to the world. Like, I'm exposing myself today. I didn't talk about it then, but today, like, I just go
I
everywhere
know
and
this
ask
is
for
big.
support.
This is really big, and I
And
really appreciate it. Mhm.
but it was that exposure, and I'll never forget. And some days I still, later on in life, and my oldest is about to be 18, that I'll get that voice in my head from what this doctor said next, and it made me feel a certain kind of way about myself, which I'm sure that doctor didn't intend that. I know that wasn't his intention. So me today, I know that wasn't his intention, but 13-year-old Patrice, like, yeah. And you guys are probably wondering what he said, and what the doctor
what did he say?
So we get there. We have to leave from my pediatrician area to go to the women's center for them to kind of view some things. And he was just, like kind of distraught himself. Just, whoa, like. And he introduced us to another doctor that was in the women's center. And I was just standing there, and he's like, this is a special case. And that sounds menacing to anyone, but just those words stuck with me. I'm a special case, like what?
Right.
Like,
Special is two different. It has two different meanings, but in that setting, I get what you're saying. So, what was the ride home like from the doctor?
I had a relative that came that was very upset. They were ready to go and seek revenge, so to speak. The ride home was very cloudy for me, honestly. I just kept playing in my head, like, okay, this is out, but now I'm a special case. So that's what everybody's going to think of me. I'm the special case. I'm a special case. So I repeatedly played that in my head. So there was, I know a lot of people may have read the bio, and I have an awesome biological mom, and I have two moms. I have three moms. So things were set away where they all just kind of got together with my father and my grandmother, and they made arrangements for what was going to happen next. I wasn't included in that. And then, of course, my head was going, I'm the special case. So the ride home was it was blurry, so to speak. That's all I could focus on, my 13-year-old brain.
Yeah, this is the thing. People fail to realize words have power, rather positive and negative. But for some reason, the negative, if it's repeated enough, takes a longer time to, how can I say, release from your spirit. And that's a sad story. I'm gonna tell you now, Patrice. If it was me and I was the mom, I know I would be behind bars. No, some people say that, and people say if you're not in a situation, you really don't know. But
oh no, I thought she was going to be behind bars, but tried to stick together and handle it as a family, but Dad just went somewhere else.
I know that's not the way to go, but I'm just the rage of it, the rage of it. So now that you have kids, and I know you said sometimes you go to that thought, and having 4 kids,
3 girls.
Oh, all girls?
3 girls, 1 boy.
Oh, goodness. So were you like overprotective, or are you overprotective?
Yes. I am to an extent. I really am. And, but I keep it an open environment for us to be able to talk about things because, like I said, I wasn't included on a lot of things that happened to me in that situation. So I am open. Like, my kids bring home, I joke and say, you guys are always bringing home strays. Like, they bring home other kids to come and talk to me.
Oh, that's great.
I keep it open, but I am that protective person. Like, where are you going? I need to meet their parents. I need to see what their home life environment is.
I need
to know, because I'm not just sending you to. I don't care that you're 17. I got that, but let me see where you're going. So it's yes, I'm overprotective.
Hey, that's it. This world today It's wow. It's really a crazy place. But if you really look back in the past, it's always kind of been a little bit crazy. It's just
Hmm.
us as individuals and how we handle it. Um, so let's speed up. And I know you mentioned, and I don't want to give it away. Um, but by the way, to all the listeners, when I invited Patrice to interview with me, I didn't even know all of this. This was like a casual invite. And pretty much, I'm a person that is very spirit driven. And so when God placed things on my heart, I usually act on it. And it was really through an inbox conversation of ours. And I just kind of told her, like, listen, I'm about to start a podcast. Would you like to do an interview? And she said, sure. And so when I asked her to send the bio, and I'm reading the bio, and I'm like, wow, okay, this is a whole different direction here. And this is a podcast that definitely can heal some people prayerfully. And maybe open some more people up, because they say you're only as sick as your secrets. And once it's out, you could kind of start working from there. So take us to Patrice as a high schooler, still having
Patrice,
this, you know,
yeah,
in your
Patrice
memory.
was a high schooler. I struggled a lot. I was a good student. I was, some may say, maybe teacher pet type student.
Hmm.
So I was that.
Hmm.
And then after this event and everything, I was still a teacher pet, but then I started to drift away. I would
Right.
just leave and
Hmm.
find the most horrible people that I can be around and just like, okay, maybe I need to hang around them. Because you remember, I'm
Mm,
a special case, you know?
exactly.
So I would do that. And also after the event, you actually are right home. What we didn't mention is that maybe just a week after, or not too long after that happened, I
Hmm.
decided that I was going to end it all. Like, I wasn't
Mm,
going to be a special case. This did never happen to me. Like,
right.
nobody, like, we're just done. I was done.
Mm,
And I went on to try to end it. I wrote a letter,
hmm.
and to my family, and I wanted to, them to wake up in the morning and this letter be laying on my chest, and then they find me and just take me
Wow.
wherever.
Mm,
But it didn't happen like that. I downed a bottle of Tylenol, like the prescription Tylenol. So
hmm.
I had to take like at least 20 of them.
Oh my
And
goodness.
I woke up the next morning and the letter fell. My mom found it. So I could hear all my family out in the other room. And I'm looking like, really? So I'm that much of a
So,
special case. I can't even leave. Like, this is not
wow.
even going to work.
God had
There's
his hand on you.
the
He
hand
said,
of
I don't know
God.
what you think you're doing, but I'm gonna let you just get some good sleep tonight. And
Yeah, I was.
tomorrow you're gonna think about it, what you did. Wow.
Yeah. So
God
I
has a
woke
sense of
up.
humor.
Apparently, because I was just like, "What are you kidding me? So I can't even do this." Like, oh. And of course, I'm like, "Oh crap!" Then I look for the letter, and it's gone. I'm like, "Oh, come on!" Like, seriously.
It didn't
So
happen, and now they still found it, huh?
exactly.
Oh wow. So what did your mom say?
She was just really confused with the situation, why I would want to leave them, and
Hmm.
things like that. And I still didn't have any words because, like I said, at that point, I just began to rebel. So that
Right.
was Patrice's teen. I began to rebel. This preacher's daughter, they already looked at me in some light that you have to be a
Hmm.
certain kind of way because your father is a minister of a church, so you have to, be a certain way.
Right.
And I wasn't that way because remember, I'm a special case. So, and then
Right.
I couldn't even kill myself right. Like, really? These pills, were they expired? Like, I don't
You were
know.
really special.
Yeah. So
Oh goodness.
that was Patrice at as it most as a teen until I just
Mhm.
started to see some other things, and God just started to point me in some other directions. Like,
Okay.
I'm still pretty young now, and I have some kids that I have teen kids. I
Right.
joke and say, like, if I had to have kids today, this Patrice today, at this
Mhm.
age, I don't know. That's probably why God gave them to me a little bit earlier.
Well, maybe he gave them to you just so you can know your worth and know your value, know that you are capable of being a
Yeah.
great light and bringing great things into this world, which were for kids. You know, there's so many people out here that wish they can have one, and God bless you with four. And I believe He blessed you with those four to occupy your mind and to just let you see, life is a beautiful thing and you do have an assignment. So, and I know we talked about um, some of the things. So let's go into what you're doing now. Um, what is it that help you get through that pain and go on to triumph?
Well, a lot of people now see me as, I've actually had people tell me that I was too happy. I'm not sure
Hmm.
what that means, but a lot of people see me as this inspiration, or she's
Hmm.
always so inspirational. Oh, are you a motivational speaker? No, I'm not. But I need those things. I know that I need those things every day in my life. I
Right.
need to be engulfed in it, and that's
Hmm.
just what extends out because I engulf myself so much in it. I wake up in the morning and that's just pretty much my routine. I have to listen to something inspirational, something
That's me.
motivational. I have to
Hmm.
read personal development. If not, oh, watch out, world. Like
Right.
I have to do those things. And it just portrays out to every other aspect, so to speak, of my life. Like,
Hmm.
I just portray that. And, I have my moments and I have my friends, and we all do. And we're going to say what we need to say and feel how we need to feel in that moment. But I've
Right.
learned myself more, is what I'm saying.
Hmm.
So I know that I need to, okay, I can be in this moment with this friend and have this and have these conversations and be down and be sad about this. But then I need to cut it off and take a break. So I
Right.
may not answer my phone. You may not catch me on Messenger, like, and be wondering where I'm at. So I need those moments. So that's kind of the Patrice of today.
Okay. So you're doing outreach now, but tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, yeah. I go and I speak to kids. I speak to now. I speak to teens that harm themselves in ways. They cut their cutters. They cut
Mm.
themselves.
Hmm.
Um, that started. When I had a friend here, and my
Hmm.
daughter had a friend over that's been in our lives, since she was maybe 4 or 5, and
Hmm.
I love this kid to death. So
Hmm.
when I found out what was going on with her and some of her pain,
Hmm.
I just pulled all the girls, like all of my kids, and I'm that house that they come to. Like everybody, I don't know
That's
how
great. It's
I ended up
awesome.
that house. I'm very overprotective, and I want to know where everybody's at, and I take phones, but
Hmm.
they still come over.
You see
But
that?
and I
Mm.
got to just talk to her, just like, do you know? And I started telling my story, and then I didn't realize, like, kids were lining up and they're listening, and their eyes are
Yeah.
filled with tears, and I'm just like, and it's okay. Like, if you're going to talk to somebody, if you
Exactly.
can't talk to your mom, find somebody. If you want to talk to me, I'm
Hmm.
here. And that just kind of opened the gateway for that.
That's great. Because that's what kids need today. And unfortunately, we only have 5 more minutes left. So this conversation is so good. And I hope that a lot of people got some greatness out of this. Just to see how your trials and tribulations are not your own, they're for someone else. And I am grateful to know you, Patrice, that you are living out your assignment and you are adding to this world and not just taking. So, real quick, tell us about your business venture and
Yeah, go
where
ahead.
people can find the information. Well, I'm going to put the information on the blog page. You can find her and we'll put the link down in social media and everywhere. But tell everyone real quick about your business.
Well, I have been building businesses from home for about a decade or so. I've done some outside things, but
Mm-hmm.
this fits me better. I'm partnered with a technology company, and I do have some say in a travel business as well. So
Okay.
that just fits in hand with the homeschool travel schooling as well. So
Right.
I help a lot of people just kind of figure out their purpose. I'm one, as you see some of my background, I don't believe that you look at a person's background and then determine what they're going to do later
Right.
on in life. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm all for taking somebody where they're at, and then we can go to where you want to get.
Exactly. Exactly. So what I'm going to do is, because this conversation had to be cut, on chroniclesofliving.com, if you look for Patrice page, I'm going to make sure that I put all the information on her page on where you can find her and her business ventures, and also how to get in touch with her in case you want her to come to your community center, your church, or whatever you have going on, to talk to young people or even older people that's in pain and that needs someone that's been there and got through. So, can you give the listeners an encouraging word? And we're going to have to go on out from there.
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to say that regardless of what you've been through, what you may be going through right now, um, you know, we live and we learn, that we say that, but it's so much deeper than that. When you reach outside of just what you may be going through, you can touch and help so many more.
Yes.
So the thing is, we just have to stick together on that,
Mm-hmm.
that vision to be able to accomplish that, and just be here for one another, period. No one
Exactly.
is of any, you're not a special case, so to speak, like that. You are special in the eyes of something so much greater than what we
Yes.
all are. And we have to recognize that, and we have to
Mm-hmm.
help each other recognize that when we are feeling in our own way.
Right. Couldn't have said it better myself. So, guys, I really hope y'all got a lot out of this interview. I really enjoyed you, Patrice, and I thank you again for coming on and sharing your story with everyone. And I don't even know. The next interview, next Sunday at 7 p.m., I'm not sure yet who it'll be, but definitely check out Patrice Johnson and on her Facebook page, Patrice Johnson, and give her some words of encouragement and thanks for even opening up to us, because that's really big. So many people keep things inside. And just like she said, we got to work together to heal each other. So until next time, this is ADI, the Chronicles of Living, and my guest, Patrice Johnson. I'll see y'all guys the next time. Love you all.
Thank you for listening to Chronicles of Living, where we talk to everyday people about everyday things in the past, present, and future. And if you are pursuing your dreams, I'm proud of you. Because the best part of life is when you decide to live. To keep up with us, please visit chroniclesofliving.com. Until next time, this is ADI, your dream pusher. I love you guys.